That's so much better, right? All right. So good morning. Happy Friday morning. We are in Ignite session number 5 for Friday morning, and record was one of the first things I had put to remind myself. So we got that done. And then if you'll do me a favor as I'm talking, if you see people needing to get admitted, just wave at me so that I'm paying attention to all of that stuff at the same time. So I am Laura Gleason. I am your fearless team leader here at KWMW, and I'm just going to give you a quick introduction of myself. So I've been in real estate for 22 years now. Started an awesome real estate career in California, in a town called Santa Cruz, California. Prior to that real estate career, I have a master's degree in higher education administration. I used to work at the college level, mostly in administration, but I also got to teach a bit, and I actually got to teach leadership classes at the college level, which was really fun. And I'm also going to mention that prior to that, I was born and raised on a dairy farm in Michigan. And so have a farmer's work ethic. And that kind of comes into play with our topic today. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But as I was raising my kids in California, realized that it was very expensive there and we needed 2 incomes. And so we were trying to figure out a career that was flexible so that I could take my kids to school, pick them up and all that kind of stuff. So that turned into a real estate career, and it turned into a very successful real estate career. And I've been with 3 different real estate companies in my career. When I first started in real estate, I'd never heard of Keller Williams. They weren't even in the town that I was from. So I started with a really small company when I first got started. And what I found about small companies is there's less people, so there's less people power. There's not a lot of people to guide you, train you, show you what to do. You have to figure out a lot on your own. And I think because I have a background in education, I was good at asking questions and good at figuring things out. So my career got off to a good start, and so much so that I started to get recruited by other companies. And in my 3rd year, I ended up at a bigger company known as Coldwell Banker. Many people have heard that name before. And what I liked about that company is I had good marketing materials that I could use, and they were a well-known name in my area. But they didn't have a lot of training and education. And so what I found in real estate is if you can't get good training and education from the company you're with, then you look outside your company and you go to like the Association of Realtors to get training, or you join a coaching company that's a real estate coaching company and you get training there. So I did a variety of those things and continued to grow my skills so that I could keep taking care of my clients at the highest level possible. And during my time there, Keller Williams came to town, and I started to have transactions with KW agents, and I was really impressed. I thought they were very professional. I thought we communicated well together, and I thought we all had taken care of our clients as the most important part of what we were doing. And a few years went by, and the leadership at this Keller Williams Santa Cruz office reached out to me and said, "Hey, we've heard about you in the community, and we have a leadership position that we think you'd be a good fit for, and we really want to talk to you." So I was curious, and so I met with them, and that's where I learned more about Keller Williams as a company. And I learned that we have a huge emphasis on business development. We treat every single real estate agent as a business owner, and our goal is to help you be the smartest business owner that you can be. And we do that through the training and education that we offer, through the support we offer from the leadership team in the office, through the coaching that we offer. All those different things are part of what we're doing to help support your growth. And the real leadership position that they were looking to fill in that office was the productivity coach. And I got super excited because I've been getting coached in my own business for many, many years. I have an education background, and all of a sudden I could take all of that plus my real estate career that was going really well and put it together. So I moved my license over to Keller Williams about 10 years ago, and became a full-time agent in the Santa Cruz, California office. And then within a couple of months, I became the coach in the office. And for 3 years, I worked with all the brand new agents as the productivity coach, doing what I talked about yesterday in our team huddle. I feel like you start in real estate with an empty tool belt on. And it's the coach's job to help fill your tool belt with tools, not just the coach's job, but all of us here to help you fill that tool belt. And one of the things that they had me start doing right away was teach Ignite. They're like, got this Ignite class coming up. We'd really like you to get it organized and we want you to help teach it. And I was like, okay, that's great. I was excited about teaching. I hadn't done that in a while, but super excited about it. So I'm handed this Ignite stuff, and I got to tell you, I was mind blown. I was like, wait a minute. First of all, they have this department called Keller Williams University that has a full-time staff that writes courses. And I was mind blown about that. And then I was mind blown about all the different topics in Ignite, because I felt like, first of all, I didn't have a class like that when I started in real estate. And everything in there, in the Ignite class, I had to figure out and make up on my own because I didn't have a class like that to teach me those things. So I was super excited about it and continue. Hi, Ed. I continue to be super excited about it every time I get to help teach Ignite. And since then, I was 3 years as a productivity coach, and then I've spent the last 6 years, or this is in my 6th year, as a team leader for a couple of different offices. So I'm super excited to be here with you guys today. Let me go ahead and share my screen with the presentation. And I'm in front of the whiteboard because I tend to like to write stuff down too, or make drawings. And so I wanted to be able to do that with you. Let me put this on slideshow mode. Okay, so you guys can see it. Can everybody at home see the Ignite session 5 slide?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so you are in Ignite, you're in class number 5. And I just want to remind you about how Ignite is laid out. So there's actually 4 different sections to Ignite. Technically, they want us to teach it in 4 weeks. They want us to teach it Monday through Friday for 2 hours each day. And we spread it out a little bit because that's a lot. So we're teaching it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which means we're spreading it out a little bit more. But so far, you guys have done the first section, which is the real estate expert section. And if you missed any of those classes, we have them recorded, and they are on our Keller Williams Mid-Willamette YouTube channel, and you can go back and watch the recordings anytime. If you're having trouble finding that, just reach out to me or Corinne and we can get you the link. But all of that information is, those classes have been recorded and you can go back and watch those anytime. And now today starts the lead generation section. So if we look at the way Ignite is laid out, you have been through the first 4 classes, which was Spark Your Career, Embrace Your Job, Connect with Your Market, and Define Your Value. And today we're going to go over lead generation. We're going to start with Generate Your Leads. And then there are the next few classes are going to be Grow Your Database, Capture Leads with Open Houses, Capture Leads with Social Media, and then Capture More Leads. So all the other ways that you can capture leads. So we're going to start with the basics of lead generation today, which is one of my favorite topics to teach on. But before we do that, there's a couple things I want to make sure. If you guys are using your student handouts, I just want to make sure I stay on track with you. So if it seems like I get off track because the facilitator guide has a lot more stuff in it, and if you say, wait a minute, you didn't cover this in the student part, just let me know and we'll back up and make sure we cover every single section in your student part. So you can tell if you're looking at the student part right now, I'm on 5.2. Okay, before we move forward, any ahas from the first 4 classes of Ignite this summer that you've been in? Anything that blew your mind, stood out, something that has been really helpful that you're going to implement? Those kinds of questions.
No, I can't think of it.
You can't, it's Friday morning, it's too early to think.
No. Yeah, there's been a lot going on.
So
I
trust me, this is, yes, Melinda, go ahead.
Oh, the value proposition part was really impactful for me.
Awesome.
Actually, I will say that was probably so far the second best.
Okay, so Michael's saying you like the value proposition. That was the class on Wednesday, right?
I thought the market class was a little better.
Connect with your market was good too. Is there anything that stood out for either of those classes that you hadn't thought of before or that you're planning on implementing?
No, the big thing with the connect with your market one was it actually gave you some like concrete foundations of things to work
Good.
to start with.
Yeah.
And well, basically a starting place to go from.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Melinda, anything that was something that stood out for you or something you're going to add?
Nope, not right now. Sorry. I'm trying to
All right.
mute and unmute.
Hey, that's okay. If you're writing in the chat, I can't see it because I have the slideshow going. And so it's helpful if you talk versus write because I can't see it. Here's the one thing I will say. Overall, the fact that you're here taking these classes and even thinking about defining your value or connecting with your market, you are way ahead of at least 80% of the real estate agents out there that are winging it. Okay. I mentioned that I didn't have a class like this when I first got started in real estate. Most people don't. And so they wing it, or they pull pieces from here, there, everywhere. And this Ignite series really is, like I said, meant to help you fill your tool belt with tools and get you to think about all those things that makes you a business professional, which is what we really want to help you with at Keller Williams. So that, like I said, even the fact that you're thinking about those things and adding that to your business plan, you are so far ahead of most of the real estate agents out there that think they're a real estate agent, but don't realize that they're also a business owner. So today we're going to work on generating your leads. And for today's topic, or, the outline of the whole class, we are going to start with you as the lead generator. Then we're going to talk about the lead generation model. Keller Williams has lots of models. If you're here in the Albany office, you see the models all over the walls everywhere. And so we're going to talk about the lead generation model. Then we're going to talk about what a sphere of influence is. And then we're going to talk about expanding that. We're going to talk about lead generation best practices. And all along the way, I'm going to be asking you for ahas. And then we'll talk about the Ignite success plan as well, and moving and continuing to do that every single day. I want you guys to take a minute and think about it. And I'm going to ask you to share. If you think about today's topic today of you as the lead generator and lead generation in general, I want to know what you hope I'm going to cover today or what questions you might have. So please think about it and then let me know.
You want us
Barbie.
to? Hi, good morning. I'm really looking for, with what I come from, what I'm typically always looking for is like your non-negotiable daily activities, right? So I built my previous business based on action goals, not not monetary goals or any of that, because if you do the actions, the results follow. And so I'm kind of looking for like right now I'm doing a ridiculous amount of calls every day because I don't really feel like I know what else to do for lead gen. And so I'm kind of for like, I want action steps, like go out and do this every day. Make sure you do this every day, do that every day. And obviously the results follow. So I'm really hoping for sort of like laid out plan of like, if I do these things every day and every week, then the results will automatically follow. And obviously I know that with calls, but I feel like I'm looking for just a little more than calls. So yeah, I'm looking for like a, hey, go do this plan because I want stuff to start moving. I did show a house. Exciting.
Okay, that's really good. And that's actually going to get covered in this entire section. So not just today, but all of the different lead gen ideas. I think if I go back when like it's the lead gens with open houses, with social media, with capturing leads, we're going to cover it in all of those different parts. Okay. So
yep, that's what I'm looking for.
Any other things for today that you're curious about or hoping gets covered or have a question about?
Is anyone else as new as I am here?
Yeah, yes, there are.
Oh, good.
You're not the only one. Anybody else? Any other things you're curious about? It's like, you always talk about lead generation and I never really understood blank. What are you hoping for?
I'm just curious as to what everybody's different perspectives are.
Okay. Michael wants to know different perspectives. We're going to define that better today. Anything else? Okay, so again, today we're going to start with you as the lead generator. Let me make sure I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do for your sheet. We did that part. Okay. So Gary Keller had this quote. And so for the first thing we're going to do today is talk a little bit about mindset around it. So every Keller Williams course starts with mindset because we find that it's helpful to get your mind straight so that you fully embrace what the topic is. And so he had this quote in the Shift book that he wrote, one of the books he's written, which I think might be, is it over here? My fear of failure was greater than my fear of lead generation or lead generating. What does that mean? What do you guys think about when you read that quote? What does that mean to you?
Kind of self-explanatory, right?
Is it? How's it self-explanatory?
Well, because basically, like what he's saying is that he was more afraid of failing as a real estate agent than he was of lead generating.
Doing the activities.
So therefore, the activity was
Yeah.
basically his fear of failing drove him to do the activity.
Yeah. There's actually, in the science of fear, there's two types of fear. There's a fear of failure and a fear of success. And a fear of failure means you're going to do it no matter what the obstacle is. You're going to put one foot in front of the other and you're going to fail forward and you're going to learn because there's something bigger out there that's important to you that's going to make sure you don't stop and quit. Does that make sense? So sometimes that's a monetary reason. Sometimes that's a family you have to take care of. There's usually something out there that says, no matter what, I'm going to succeed. I'm not going to fail at this. And I'm going to keep failing until I succeed. And one example I like around this one is you think of Olympic athletes. They're not going to fail. They're just going to keep pushing forward and getting better and better and better. We talk about mastery being 10,000 hours at a certain task. So they're willing to put the time and energy into creating mastery. Fear of success shows up as procrastination. So we talked about fear of failure is that attitude of never giving up. Fear of success for most people shows up as, well, if I get really good at this, it's going to change my life and I'm not sure how I'm going to handle that. So you make up reasons to not move forward. It usually shows up as procrastination. It's going to change my life in a certain way. And so I can't think about what that's going to be like and it scares me versus doing it and figuring out it as you go along. Does that make sense?
So that's the interesting concept because I guess my question, since currently you've studied this, is so which one would you say of those two would be a greater motivator or greater hindrance?
It's interesting enough. I haven't like taught a whole class on fear, but in what I've researched, 85% of the population shows up with a fear of success and 15% of the population shows up with a fear of failure. That's that top cream of the.
I was just going to say, so I did a really in-depth class of this with Tony Robbins. And most people can't identify that it's fear of success, but most people have fear of success, not fear of failure. They're afraid of.
Let me give you a really good example. Let's pretend we're all afraid. Let's pretend we're all afraid of spiders. That's the easy one, okay? Because a lot of people are. Do you move towards the spider or do you move away from a spider if you're afraid of it?
Away.
Away. So if you're afraid of success, do you move towards it or do you move away from it? So if you have a fear of failure, you move away from failure. If you have a fear of success, you move away from success. That's why success shows up as procrastination, because you're moving away from it. If you're an Olympic athlete, and you have a fear of failure, you move away from failure and you move towards success. Does that make sense more? So typically 15% of the population is more afraid of failure than they are success. And the rest of us are afraid of success. Barbie, anything you would add on that?
So I guess I could say, so when I first started doing network marketing and getting really successful at it, I was more afraid. I was the opposite of most. I was more afraid of failure because I was in such a position that like I didn't have a choice but to figure out how to make it work. And then once I created success and the company shut down and it took it away, then I became more afraid of success because I'm like, well, I didn't have control of that, right? And I got used to the lifestyle, right? It was a ginormous income monthly. It was consistent for over 18 months. It was amazing. And then all of a sudden it got ripped away. And so then I was afraid of doing the work again because I worked my friggin' tail off for it. I was afraid of showing up and doing the work and it getting taken away. So then I got stuck in this like space of like, well, if I do the work, it doesn't matter because it gets taken away anyways. And I don't have any control over that. So why would I show up and work? So then I got stuck in fear of success, which is when I then did a class with Tony Robbins, which was amazing. And it really does show us that like we don't identify in our head that like we do, what do you call it, productive procrastination. So that's what I got stuck in. I was doing actions, but I wasn't doing the right actions. I was continuously always busy, but I wasn't doing the right busy thing, which I think is a lot of things that we get stuck in as agents, which let me watch this YouTube video. Let me do this training, which don't get me wrong, training is a very important part, but you shouldn't be spending 8 hours a day doing training and not taking any action.
That's why at KW, we call it learning for earning's sake, because we want you here in the classroom learning, and we want you to apply it so that you can earn from it. So that's super great. And we could sit here and do a whole hour just on that part. It's because it's its own topic. And so let's take all of these ideas that we just talked about into what our topic is today, which is learning about lead generating and learning to do it in a success mindset, and as well as what are those steps that are the smart steps to do so that we're doing it in a sustainable way. Okay, so it also in the shift, Ed,
I was just going to say, you know, with sometimes we look at fear as a negative thing, but it's also a positive thing, because it protects us from harm. It protects us from a lot of things that if we didn't have the fear of something, we might have too much faith in doing something and lose everything. We'll have, you know, so sometimes that fear, it helps with maybe understanding what the cause of the fear is, or looking at it. Because I mean, even like the fear of spiders, you know, I was I don't like tarantulas, but I saw a tarantula a few years ago and I was there at my house, and so you know what? I know tarantulas don't hurt you.
Yeah.
The reason I'm afraid of it is because
they're creepy.
Yeah. So I went and picked it up and let it crawl up my arm, and I was like, you know what, a sweet animal. That fear was not a real fear, but sometimes we have fears of things that really can harm us because we will do things that are, you know, we look at later as foolish.
What's the acronym for fear? FEAR.
Feel early and responsible.
Oh, that's good. That's not the one I was thinking of. Here's the one I was thinking of. False
evidence appearing real.
Appearing real. Which is what Ed just said in so many words. Excuse me. Oh man, this morning my voice is not working with me. Sorry. False evidence appearing real. Exactly what you said. That spider's not scary. It's a kind, friendly creature. So keep all of that in mind as we go through helping you get past your possible potential fears around lead generation. Okay. So, and the really good mindset stuff that you guys started with today. So thank you for that. So also in the Shift book, which by the way, is probably one of my most favorite books that has been written by Gary Keller and the other people who helped him write that book. Every single real estate market shifts. Our economic markets are always going up and down. There's that bell curve thing that happens. And real estate is no different. It follows what's going on with the economy. And the Shift book will help you be prepared to be a smart business owner and a successful realtor in any market. And Kristen Wilson, the operating principal broker here, and I are doing a podcast on Wednesday mornings for like 15 minutes, short podcast where we're talking about a topic. And we spent the last, at least 12 weeks, because there's 12 tactics in Shift, talking about Shift. And so if you just want to even get a short glimpse at it, that's also on our YouTube channel. You can check out our quick podcast where we talked about the Shift book. So in Shift, they talk about the 6 core competencies of a real estate business. The first one is lead generate, capture, and convert to appointments. The second is present to buyers and sellers and get agreements signed. The third is show buyers and market sellers. The fourth is write and negotiate contracts. The fifth is coordinate the sale to closing. Make sure you got contract signed, all this, get it closed. And the sixth is manage your money, which we teach at Keller Williams because we want you to be a smart business owner. And Barbie, you gave a perfect example of a business that was very lucrative and then it fell apart. And so we want to make sure that we're helping you guys manage your money throughout the highs and lows of a career as well, so that you have sustainable wealth and can reach your bigger goals. We always say God, then family, then business at KW. So God means whatever your spirituality is, whatever your mindset is, family comes first and then your business. And you have a business so you can fund a life. So managing the money is an important part of that as well. Okay, of these 6 core competencies, which one is the most important? Which one?
Peter Drucker says the sole purpose of any business is to get and keep customers.
Get and keep in touch with people. So which one is that?
So that'd be lead generation.
Lead generation is your answer, Michael, of which is the most important. Does everybody agree or disagree? Have a different one?
There's a reason it's number one.
There is a reason it's number one.
Technically, if you don't do all of those, you still don't.
True. But let me ask you it this way. Do any of the others even happen if you don't do number one? Okay, so number one is there for a reason. It is the most important. Lead generate, capture, and convert to appointments. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let's go a little bit more into some fears. This is on page 5.3 of your handout. So these were fears that Gary Keller talked about in the Shift book when he started his real estate career. These were some of his fears. The first one was, I think lead generation is really difficult. How many of you can relate to that? Do you agree? I think it's difficult.
Yes and no. Some parts are difficult somewhere.
Okay.
I don't think it's
Chip-
difficult. I think it's daunting. I think it's one of those things where it's like so easy to do that it's so easy not to do, right? Like, oh, I could go make 20 phone calls, or I could make something good for lunch, or go to the store because I'm out of tomatoes, or, you know, whatever it might be. It's just one of those.
Procrastination.
Yes. Like, it's so easy. It's not hard to make a phone call, right? I think it's harder to go work an 8-hour day in an office for a paycheck than it is to make a bunch of phone calls. But for some reason we put it off. Yeah.
And there might be, some of these others might come into play. I don't have time to lead generate. Do you feel like that sometimes? Some days, like, when am I going to fit it in?
For me, I feel like I can always find the time. It's just a matter of I can also find the time to do it. So it's not the time, it's the intentional procrastination.
Or is it more, what's more important? Something, the other things, or the lead generation? The next one, I don't know what to say. That's a lot more, I think, of what people get worried about is, oh, I can make the calls, but then I freeze, or what am I going to say to them? Am I going to sound genuine? Or they think I'm being too salesy, right? I don't want to come off as a salesperson. I want to come off as their friend. All those I hear, believe me, I know you thought it because I've heard it over and over again. And then the fourth one, I'm afraid of making mistakes, right? Which goes along with number 3. I don't know what to say. So what if I make a mistake? And so with those, that's practice, right? We don't expect you to be
a lot
perfect.
of them tie into just the the fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection.
Nobody
Yeah.
likes to feel out.
Yeah.
So whatever it looks like, that's the bottom line.
Yeah. So that goes back to Gary's, my fear of failure was greater than my fear of lead generating. So that fear of rejection, where does that fall in? Okay, so here were Gary's answers to these. Number one, I think lead generation is really difficult. I was confusing effort with enjoyment. Lead generation is actually easy, it's just not fun. And I 100% agree with that. I think it can be fun. And I also think that you won't get out of bed and do it if it's not fun. So we want you doing lead generation that you actually enjoy doing. So I'll give you an example of that. I was not necessarily a cold caller in my business. I was much more relational. I like to be in front of people. Networking was more my thing. So if I'm going to get out of bed and be a natural networker, that's what I'm going to do. Am I going to get out of bed and be a cold caller? Probably not. And that's not one is right and one is wrong. It's just naturally what do you enjoy doing more. So we can talk about making it fun and helping you with those lead levers. So again, I was confusing effort with enjoyment. Barbie, you kind of hit on that as well. Lead generation is actually easy. It's not hard to make a phone call. It's just not necessarily fun all the time. So can we make it fun? The next one, I don't have time to lead generate. I had an issue of making time to lead generate and protecting that time. So I always think about what is something on your calendar that you will not miss. Absolutely won't miss it. It's on there. You will make sure you go there every single time.
My car payment.
Your car payment? Okay. For me, I always say a doctor's appointment because it takes like months to schedule. And so I won't miss it because I know I'm going to have to reschedule it and I may not get in for months. So especially when you're a mom or a parent with kids and you're making appointments and you know you've got to get your kids to that appointment, you won't miss anything, unless there's you break down on the side of the road, you're going to make it to that appointment, right? Any other examples of that you won't miss? Melinda, your son's getting married in a couple of days. I don't think you're going to miss that one, right?
I was going to say anything that has to do with my kid, anything.
Yeah. So we have to think about lead generation being protected time like that in our calendar that we've blocked out that is more important than anything else. The third one, I don't know what to say. And his answer, I had to get on a path of mastering the dialogue skills needed in this business. Hey, this is a super cool one. There's dialogues in every single business. Your auto mechanic has a dialogue. The person who cuts my hair has a dialogue. Your doctors absolutely have a dialogue. You go into a heart doctor, they're not asking you about your knees. The knee doctor's doing that, right? So everyone has dialogues. Don't think that you're coming off as a real estate agent as salesy if you're using a dialogue and you want to practice the dialogue so they come out natural. When you hear your doctor do their dialogue, they're asking the same question to every single person they meet with. They come off as professional, right? We would expect them to have a dialogue and to be professional with us, or we're going to go find another doctor.
Well, also, but even with the doctor, to me, I don't even care what they're saying. If I feel like they really care about you, it really makes a huge difference between a doctor.
Yeah.
You have two doctors say the exact same thing. One you can really tell cares.
Yeah.
The other one just, okay, you're another cow in my list today. You feel it.
And we're going to talk to you about showing how much you care throughout this entire Ignite course as well, because it's really important. And then the last one, I'm afraid of making mistakes. I found that lead generation is nothing more than a set of tasks and skills that are well documented, which we're going to cover today. Well documented. Okay. Any thoughts on that before we move on? Okay, so moving on. Do you guys have any idea what this is a depiction of? Michael's going to cheat.
No,
You and your people that are around you and the different,
What do we call that?
your sphere of.
Your sphere of influence or circle of influence, COI or SOI, sphere of influence, circle of influence. Yeah, you and the people surrounding you that you know to some level. You know, some people, your friends and family better than you know your neighbors per se, for example, right? So this is a depiction of your sphere of influence. So there's a couple of really good nuggets inside this course that are written down for the instructor, and I'm going to read from it because I think it's so well written. So it tells me to say to you, it doesn't matter how great you are at selling houses if no one knows you're in the business of selling houses. So are you an agent or are you a secret agent? Does everybody know you're a real estate agent and that you're in the business of helping people's dreams come true through buying and selling properties and investing in properties? You already have two key components to lead generation. You have a sphere of influence and you have a database. And we're going to break that down to make sure you understand both of them. Okay. All right. So sphere of influence, we're talking about, okay, this is where it gets fun. We actually put some math into the idea of what your sphere of influence is. So everybody take out your phone and go to your contact list. And you can scroll all the way to the bottom and it will tell you how many people are in your contact list in your phone. So I'd love to hear some numbers from people. How many people are in your phone?
I have 501.
501. Thank you, Allison. Who else?
Six.
You have 6, Michael? Okay, Michael has 6. We can work on that. Ed, how many are in yours?
How do you find it?
It's at the very bottom. You go all the way to the bottom and it's supposed to tell you at the very bottom. What approximately how many do you think you have?
How many people do you think you know?
I would say maybe
555.
500 and how many, Barbie? Over 500.
555, which is a great number.
555. Ed, what do you think?
I maybe 400 or so.
Okay. All right. So all the way from less than 10 to people that have over 500. So look at that. The average would be around 250, which is what we have here on the screen. So if you have 250 people in your database here, I'm going to read this to you. According to the National Association of Realtors, the typical person moves every 8 years. And according to the 2020 census, the home ownership rate in the US is 64.8%. If we can assume that 64.8% of your database is a homeowner and they will move every 8 years, this means that 8.1% of your database will buy, sell, or buy and sell a home every 8 years. Will buy and sell this year or every 8 years. So we can, that's where they in B, letter B, potential closing opportunity for contacts is 0.081 or 8.1%. Okay, so you can take the amount of people in your phone. You can use this average of 250 if you want, or you can put 500 in. The goal, I would tell you, for Ignite is to get you to 100. If you're feeling like, Laura, give me a goal, Michael, I'm going to tell you we want to get you to 100 first. Okay. Anybody else is below 100. Our goal is to get you to 100 through some different memory jogger activities as well as just lead generation efforts. Okay. All right. So if you divide 250 by 0.081 or multiply, I guess, sorry, if you multiply it, it's going to be potential closing opportunities from your contacts is 20. And then potential referrals. So I think that's in here too. Let's assume that all of the people in your sphere of influence, 10 of them refer you a client this year, which seems doable. 10% refer you a client, then you're going to multiply C by 0.1, which is 10%. So the 250 times 0.1 is going to be 25 potential referrals. So you've got 20 potential closings out of a database of 250, and you've got 25 potential referrals. You add those two together, and that is 45 potential closings. And the average commission around here with an average price point of $400,000 is $10,000. Okay. So your potential income opportunity out of 250 people is 450,000. Does that sound good? Yeah. Anybody else like that number? Ed, you okay with that number? Would you like to make $450,000?
It could be a good start.
Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, I like that number. I'd be okay with that amount. I'd be able to make some dreams come true with that amount. All right, does anybody need a little bit more time on doing the math with how many people were in your database? I think the next slide is the exact same, so. Now, I want to say one more thing. I think it's actually my next part. A couple of ways to think about this. Your contact list is your database, and social media is the potential database. So if you're struggling with figuring out how many people, we start with your phone, because nowadays our phone is the one thing that, boy, if we lose it, we lose a lot of our life, right? Or if we leave it at home, we forget it, we kind of freak out. We feel like we've lost a limb, something like that. All of a sudden it's not there. So we start with the phone because that's our walking computer that we take with us everywhere, and we have a lot of information in there. So in your phone, most people have all their contacts. And then of course, also in your phone, you have your social media connections, which is the other way to look at this. So if you went on to Facebook or any of the other social media platforms and looked at how many friends you have there, do you have 500 friends, 1,000 friends? How many people are you connected to on social media? And if the number's low, then we're going to work at starting on 100 on that as well. Let's get you to 100. 100 is a good goal that you can work on every single day. Would you agree with that? Can you work on that goal? Okay. All right. So your sphere of influence is your database. Potentially it's your database. It's the start of your database. And then we're going to work on adding more oomph to that. So any questions or ahas so far? Any questions, any ahas, struggles, light bulbs? All right, moving on. So we talked about you as the lead generator. It's important. It's your mindset around that. It's actually doing the activities every day. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about the lead generation model, because again, at Keller Williams, we have lots of models because we find it's helpful to explain things with the models. So we're going to move on and talk about this model. So the lead generation model starts at the top with, on the left over there, it says lead generation activities. Or sorry, it just says lead generation. And that's number one, lead capture. And then it moves into relationship management, which is where the database part comes into it. It's your database. And then it moves into cultivate contacts for conversion. We're going to talk about what all that means. And then the final part being client and referral loop. So it's actually a loop that starts over, goes round and round. Okay. To me, when I look at this, they used to draw this as a funnel, and they've made it be more of what I call a turbine right now that just keeps going round and round. Does that make sense? That's what it looks like to me. All right, starting at the top, first part, lead generation is lead capture. Prospecting and marketing are lead generation activities that deliver leads into your business. Did you guys realize that prospecting and marketing are actually two different things? They have different definitions. Yes, no, you know that? Okay. So what's the difference between prospecting and marketing? Somebody tell me.
Well, prospecting is direct. You're directly working with someone who's marketing. You're just putting something out there. You know,
Hoping it comes back to you.
yeah.
Yeah, prospecting is you directly going to people. Marketing is you hoping people are coming to you through a marketing effort. So when you think about prospecting and marketing, the other way to look at it is I like to start at the bottom. You see how they have the triangle, they have prospecting at the bottom is a little bit bigger than marketing because prospecting is you going to people. It's your time versus your money. Marketing is more about your money. It's you being proactive. It's you having immediate results. A perfect example of that would be an open house. Open houses take your time. They don't really cost a lot of money. If you're mailing postcards to a farm of 500 people, you're probably setting that on autopilot. And does it take a lot of your time? Or does it take a lot of your money? So it's more of a money activity. So something like a postcard being mailed to a farm is something that's long-term. It's top of the mind marketing. People don't really even remember who you are until you send them 6 or more postcards. So if you're sending them once a month, it's going to take a minimum of 6 months for people to start recognizing you as the realtor that's sending postcards. They're going to throw it away in the recycling bin every time they get it. But if they see your name enough times, they're going to start thinking of you as the real estate agent that's sending them stuff. So it's long-term, it's passive, and it costs a lot more money. An open house, for example, is short-term, immediate results. You've got people that are walking in, interviewing you. By the way, you are being interviewed at an open house. They're just deciding if you're the realtor they want to work with. And there's buyers and sellers that are showing up that have an interest in real estate. So it's more immediate, it's proactive, and it takes more of your time and less of your money. So those are the differences between prospecting and marketing. And we have it as a triangle here because typically at the beginning of your business career, your real estate business career, we want you to spend more of your time because we want you to make money before you're spending money and putting that into a marketing budget. So we want you to budget out marketing dollars after you're closing some transactions and you can take some of that money and put it into a budget for marketing. So we want you to work on prospecting first. So that's why it's bigger in the triangle. Any questions on that so far? So the first part,
I was just going to say, as a new realtor too, I mean, prospecting is going to be much more beneficial than, I mean, you're marketing yourself. I'm brand new and inexperienced, you know, I mean, it's kind of more in the prospecting, you're building up a place where maybe eventually you could focus some more on marketing. It's not just the cost, but it's just,
Yeah.
I think it's the learning curve too. You're still in a learning curve and prospecting. Like when you go to an open house, you're learning things.
Right.
You're gaining experience with clients and
yeah.
So
yeah, in your marketing efforts, I definitely wouldn't necessarily mark it out there that you're brand new, but there's ways that you can do it.
Yeah.
Right. I have an example of a person. I heard this story of a lady that I think she was in Dallas, Texas, and she was getting started in a real estate career. And I think it was a second career for her. She was a little bit older in life. And she had some extra money. And so she put an ad out in the paper every single weekend, a full page ad, which costs money, about her real estate business and experience. And after people seeing that over and over again, they thought immediately that she'd been in the business for a long time. And so she gained a lot of clients from that. So because it was a marketing effort, but she put some money into that. Another example I have is an agent that I worked with in Santa Cruz who became one of the top agents in the area. And the way she did that is she chose to do an open house every single day of the week. She found a house that was vacant. That was one of the listings we had in our office. And she bought a bunch of real estate open house signs, and she put her signs out every single day. And she went to that open house and sat there and did her work. She made her calls. She made it her office. And people started to say to her, man, your signs are everywhere. You must be doing really, really good. That's amazing. And that snowballed into a really lucrative business where she was seen through some marketing efforts at a vacant open house. A little bit of a combination of both. Does that make sense? Okay. So we got prospecting and marketing. Let me go backwards on it. At this, as the lead capture part, the top of this diagram in your lead generation efforts starts with lead generation. Then it goes into number 2, the relationship management part on the left, and your database. So the definition of a database is simply a container that holds the information of your leads and contacts. Okay, so inside your database on the right, you have your contacts. That's your sphere of influence, the people you already know. And then you're going to add leads from your prospecting and marketing efforts. So you have, let's say you have 250 people that you know in your sphere of influence. There, you're going to put them in your database. And then every single person you meet at an open house, at a networking event, at door knocking, you're going to capture their information and you're going to put them into that database as well. So a database is a container that holds the information of your leads and your contacts. So your contacts are your sphere of influence and your leads are the people that you're adding. I always say, what's the point in generating a lead if you're not going to follow up with it? And you're not going to know to follow up with it if you don't put it in a database. You're going to forget about them. So you want to capture everyone and put them in the database. Does that make sense? Does anybody have a question around that? There's a fly. Sorry, I'm waving. There's a fly. Okay, I hope it's a core principle. So it's an important one to really grasp a hold of. And then you look at the next comment there, a smart database or data bank allows you to have planned and meaningful communication with your database. So you put them in we call it a CRM, a contact resource management system. We put them in there. And then if it's a smart one, it allows us to stay in touch with people so that every time they're thinking about us, they're thinking about real estate too. So I always say it's a systematic and professional way to stay in touch with people throughout the year so that every time they're thinking about real estate, they're thinking about you. That's top of mind. Systematic, professional way throughout the year. Okay. All right. And so that's the relationship management. And what's the reason we do all this? Why are we doing all this? It's in number 3. Is every single person, if you have 500 people in your data bank, are they all going to buy and sell at the same time? Realistically, are they all going to buy it? No. So we're staying
Thank
in touch with
goodness,
them.
no.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a good problem to have where we would talk about leverage. That's a different class. So, but over the course of a lifetime, we just read the information from the Association of Realtors. People move about every 8 years. So if we're building a real estate business as a lifetime business, we want to stay in touch with people throughout a lifetime so that at that moment in time where they have a life event, which means they're going to buy or sell, who are they thinking of? Right? So we stay in touch with them for the long run. And at the same time, we also want to pay our bills every month. So we are looking for lead capture and conversion. We capture leads and then we are converting them into what? A buyer or a seller. Okay.
You had a different word than capture.
What would you like the word to be?
Kind of like acquisition or I mean like the synonym for capture is catch, apprehend, seize, arrest, take prisoner. It just sounds very capture.
Okay, what's it?
In my mind, I don't want to capture anyone. I don't want to capture leads. I'm trying to put in my mind in a way that feels more comfortable for me to think that I'm actually gone. Because I felt that way about realtors before, and I don't want anyone to feel.
That's a really good realization for you, Ed, is that we definitely want to attract people to do business with us. So if acquire or capture is not a word that resonates with you, is attract a better word?
Yeah.
I would like to be an attractor in my business. I know in my heart that I want to help people. That goes back to the last class that you guys did where you're taught defining your value. I know in my heart that I want to serve people. I know that about you, that you want to serve people from your heart. And one of the ways that you can serve people is to be a realtor that they can trust and rely on as someone who has helpful information that's going to guide them through a process to help them buy or sell or invest in their property. So you're looking to attract people in your life that way. And I can give you an example of that. One of my trainers from the past is Brian Buffini. He leads a national coaching company. And I did a lot of Brian Buffini trainings in the past, was coached from his company. And he talks about how he was afraid to let people know at his church that he was a real estate agent, because that was really dear to his church, was dear to his heart. He loved those people. He didn't want to come off salesy to them. And a lady came up to him one day in tears from church saying, Brian, I really need your help. I'm in this transaction and this real estate agent is not taking good care of me. And I'm going down a path that I don't think is right for me. And I am confused. I need your help. And so he had to step in and help her with that. And he vowed at that moment that he would never let that happen to another person he cared about at church. And that he had a responsibility to make sure that they knew that he was a good real estate agent. And from his heart, he was there to take good care of people. So he wanted to attract people in that way. He had a great relationship with them in whatever it is, if it's your church or if it's where you work or, your neighborhood, whatever that, the way you know people, you've got a great relationship. Do you have people that you know from different organizations that, like, for example, a church is one of them that you also work with in a professional way? Like maybe someone at your church is also your mechanic. Maybe someone at your church cuts your hair. Maybe someone at your church is your doctor or your dentist. You can have that relationship with them, and you can also have a professional relationship with them. Does that make sense? Is attract a better word? What's the opposite of attract?
Yeah.
What's the opposite of attract?
It's interesting about the church. I had a couple clients who, because I'm not active in my church, all of a sudden left when they found out too. So it's kind of weird.
Okay. Well, we all have the things that we just work on, and we're not going to attract everyone, but I would rather attract people than repel them, which to me, the opposite of attract is repel. And in real estate, we don't want to repel people. So we want to attract as many as we can and know that there's abundance in this world and there's always going to be enough to go around. You're going to attract enough people to help reach the goals that you're looking to achieve. So, okay. They used the word, what was the word? Now I lost it. Convert, is that the word? No, what was the word you didn't like? Capture. Okay, convert. Is that a better word? So you've got leads that you're meeting and you've got contacts that you already know, and we want to turn them into buyers or sellers by staying in touch with them. Just because someone is in your sphere of influence doesn't mean they're a current buyer or seller or investor. Just because someone's a lead that you have added to your database doesn't mean they're a current buyer or seller. And so we are looking for the people who currently need us to help them buy, sell, or invest in a home. And then we're looking to keep that pipeline filled every single month for the rest of our career. Michael?
I was going to say, if you don't like that, you can always take ownership.
Ownership. Okay, that's a good word too. I like that. Yep. Responsibility or ownership. I want to be your realtor. I want to be the person who takes good professional care of you. That's good. So again, in the relationship management part, it's about staying in touch with people in a systematic, professional way throughout the year. So every time they're thinking about real estate, they think about you. And then it turns into, who are the people who need me right now? And that's the cultivate contacts for conversion, that they raise their hand and let you know they're ready to buy or sell. All right, we talked about who leads are. Leads are the people that you've earned the right to have at least a one-way conversation with. Okay, someone walks into an open house and engages with you about their needing to buy or sell. You know, the neighbors walk in because they're looking at the open house because they're comparing it to their house because they're thinking about getting their home on the market. So you're looking for sellers at an open house, or you're looking for buyers. As one example, there's lots of other ways that we lead generate. And then contacts are the people that you already know in your life who you've held a two-way conversation with them, and you've established a value-based relationship. That's very wordy, and we will break that down a bit. Any questions so far? So then it turns into, look at this, Ed, relationship management. Relationships must be attended to, cared for, and cultivated. I always think about this one. I think I got to move forward. It's your garden. When you think about growing a garden, it must be attended to, it must be cared for, and it must be cultivated. If you grow a beautiful garden and don't cultivate it, what's the point? Right? Isn't that beautiful when you think about it that way? I grew up on a dairy farm. I mentioned that at the beginning, and this is why I bring it back up, because it's just in my DNA, I guess, about how I think about life, that we attend to things, we care for things, and we cultivate from that.
Especially when they're new, you know, like when you just plant something,
Yeah.
you can't, that's really when you have to make sure that you're not ignoring it or neglecting it, because they haven't gotten root yet, and they're still very vulnerable. And if you don't water them, they're going to dry out a lot quicker than.
There's so many things you think about. A garden needs sun, it needs fertilizer, it needs rain, it needs someone to pull weeds, it needs someone to care for it. You reap what you
sow.
You reap what you sow. Okay, and with that said, we want to be a caring real estate agent where they know we're coming from contribution, we're coming from our heart, we actually care about them getting well taken care of. And there's lots of ways to do that. So they've made the categories be, let me make sure I'm with you guys on this one. They made the categories be phone calls, email, text message, face-to-face, using the app, and what's the last one? My thing's in the way. Handwritten communication. Any other types of communication that you can think of that you don't feel falls into one of these categories? Does that cover it? Does that mean you get it, or does it mean you're confused? I don't know. I think about the different things I did in my career throughout the year. I called a lot of people. I saw people face to face, either because I was popping by to say hi or because I was having a client party. I sent email, what I called an e-report or an e-newsletter. Actually, for many, many years, mailed that newsletter because it was the type of mail that kept me to the top of the mind. Lots of text messages we use. They talk about the KW app, but I would just talk about your phone in general. There's so many ways you stay in touch with people, either from text, phone call, or social media that involve your phone. And then handwritten communication. Again, note cards, sending notes, sending happy birthday, happy anniversary, making sure they know you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you want to have a combination of knowledge that you're sharing with people about the real estate industry, as well as them knowing you care about what's going on in their lives. I'm going to use Andon as an example. He was telling me about a person that he did a community garage sale with his neighborhood recently. And one of the ladies that he talked to afterwards, that was part of the garage sale, said she needed someone to, I think, restain the deck or reseal the deck. And so he's working on helping her find someone that can help her do that. So it's a great way to show he cares about her and continue to stay in touch as well. Is that a good example? So usually they fall in these categories. And so what these are called, they're called touches. Oh, let's not go there. These are called touches. Each time you reach out to a person in your database, that communication is called a touch. That's very touching. A purposefully planned series of touches is called a campaign. A coordinated campaign of touches over time, systematic, professional over time, puts you in front and center of people's mind when they think of real estate. These touches are how we nurture and strengthen our relationships. If you go back to the garden example, you put your hands in the dirt, you're taking care of your plants so that they will provide flowers or fruit or vegetables. And it's systematic, it's over time, it's a different kinds of touches. It's pulling weeds, it's watering, all those different things. Having someone in your database doesn't make them your client. Is it possible that someone is in your database and also in somebody else's database? Most people typically know 12 realtors at one time. Reaching out to them consistently and systematically with value and deepening your relationship will lead them to choose you to be their realtor. Does that make sense? Okay, so the last part of the diagram here is the bottom part, client referral and loop. And it says that you're going to have new and repeat clients, and you're also going to get referrals. Why is it referred to as a loop? Because it doesn't end. And so what happens then? What do we think is the end, Michael?
Well, because most people think closing is the end.
So when people buy or sell something, they're done. They think that's the end. But then what really does happen?
Eventually,
8 years from now, they're going to do it again on average. So they go back up in to your, I call it a turbine, but back into your database as someone that you're going to stay in touch with again. So if you were at the meeting yesterday, Laura Gillette was showing how that happens. And when they're reaching out to people, was hers very systematic yesterday? She showed every month the communication they do. July, August, September, every month who they're communicating with. And when they call them, they find out how far out they are. And if they just bought a house, she said yesterday, I think they go into kind of the 5-year plan. They still get invited to the parties. They still get the newsletters. They still get reached out to, but they're not actually calling them about buying or selling that particular house right away. They're checking in with them to see if everything's going okay though. Does that make sense? So you're putting them back into the database because you're in this business for a lifetime and you want them to continue to work with you the next time they're getting ready to buy or sell, or when they have a friend or family member or coworker who's thinking about buying or selling or investing, that they think of referring them to you, so you get a referral from them as well. The hope is that from every single client, you get at least one transaction as well as multiple transactions and multiple referrals. So it's a loop. Goes back around, it keeps going. Any other thoughts on that? Okay, so you're quiet. I just want to say this about this part of it. Gosh, you guys, this is so core or key to your business. It's such a core, important part. We talk about database all the time, but we want it to be, another thing I would say is a database is a living, breathing tool. People move around in your database. Sometimes people move away and maybe they're not like someone they stay in touch with every single month now because they don't live here anymore, but they still are connected to a ton of people who live here and they can still pass referrals on. So even if someone moves to Florida, they could still be in your database of someone you stay in touch with. You may just stay in touch with them in a longer period of time versus every single month. It's a living, breathing thing. People move around. People become right now buyers and sellers, and they go into your pipeline and you're actively communicating with them every day, or people get communicated with in a systematic, professional way throughout the year for hopes of business in the future. They move around, you have to keep an eye on it. Let's see, I think I talked about all that. Let's see what's up next. Okay. Whoops. Okay, so lead generation never ends. It's best when it's time blocked, and it determines the size of your business. Okay, the lead generation and your contacts or your database determine the size of your business? Any ahas on that one? Was there anything that you just heard that was new to you?
I need to work on the execution of this.
What do you mean by that? What does that
I
mean?
mean, hearing to do it is great, but me actually doing it is gonna need more of a step 1, step 2, step 3, which I'm kind of still trying to figure out
Okay,
this month,
so
this long.
so when you say that, Melinda, do you mean, let me try to get this through now. When you say that, Melinda, do you mean that you just need to learn how to get people put into the database, or that you need to learn how to communicate to them through in a systematic way throughout the year? Which
Yeah, the
part are you?
systematic way, getting people in the database is not a problem. I'm actually trying to weed people out right now of just duplicates and all that, clean up the database. But the database is fine. It's just that systematic way of doing all those touches throughout the year. Yes.
And we're going to continue to teach on that through Ignite and through all the other classes that we offer. We teach on those types of things and how to do it systematically. By the way, Melinda talking about cleaning up her database is another example of it being a living, breathing thing. You have to be in there, making sure there's not duplicates, deciding, where people at, if they move, do you have their current information, that sort of thing. All right, let me see. We are now at, we're going to talk about your sphere of influence in more detail, which I think I flipped too far. Okay. So we're going to talk, we've done you as the lead generator, now going to talk about lead generation model. Now we're going to talk about digging into your sphere of influence. So we're going to spend some time at the bottom one there, your sphere of influence, and then we're going to talk about expanding it. Okay. So your sphere of influence. Those are the people like we saw on the slide that had all the little people figures, people that are surrounded by you, and you know some of them better than you know others. And let's talk about what that looks like. So we're going to talk about categorizing your sphere of influence first. And this would be 5.9 of the student handout. The people that you know can get categorized into these categories: immediate family, friends, relatives, neighbors, past coworkers, because they say past because you're now a realtor. So it's the people in the previous jobs, hobbies and sports groups, teachers, worship club, volunteer, professional services. What's an example of professional services? Your doctor, your dentist,
Anything.
your mechanic,
Or, yeah, dry cleaner.
your hairdresser. I've told this story before. Some of you may have heard it. I would walk into where I got my hair done in Santa Cruz, and my hairdresser would take the realtor's card that she had just finished cutting their hair and move that card to the back of her stack and put my card in the front. I'm the one who sold the houses for her. I'm very proud of that. I built that relationship. There were other realtors that she knew, and I saw it on the cards that she moved around when I came in, and I'm the one that helped her sell. Same with my dentist. My dentist knew a lot of people, and I helped them buy and sell stuff too. So professional services, financial, legal services, personal services. I guess personal might be maybe more your hairdresser. Home auto services, real estate agents. Why is real estate agents on
there? Most of them don't make it more than 6 months.
Most of them don't make it more than 6 months. That's one. What's the other reason that you have real estate agents on there?
They'll probably be partners with you in transactions down the road.
You also refer business to realtors farther away. So you want to be building a really good referral network of realtors all over the country. And there's lots of different ways that you can do that. But you're going to have clients that are going to move, and realtors from other states have clients that move here. And so you want to be the person they refer people to here, and you want to refer back and forth. So definitely that way. Real estate services. Every single person that you refer in your business, your painters, your plumbers, your house cleaners, your home inspectors, pest people, all those roofers, all those different people, they work with lots of realtors, but it doesn't mean that you can't earn some of that business. Okay. So that you're referring them business, they're getting paid because of you, because you're referring your clients to them. So in turn, it would be nice if they referred some of that business to you. And the simple script on that is when you're taking one of your preferred vendors out for coffee, hey, I really appreciate how much I can trust you and what a great job you do taking care of our clients, our combined clients. And I know you have other realtors that you work with. And I want to continue to support your business. And I would just ask that you would think of me 2 to 3 times a year to refer people to me as well. Does that sound fair? And most of them will go, yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to refer you because they want to keep earning your business too. So all of these are the different categories. Okay. So you have on your handout on page 5.9, I want you to spend a couple minutes writing down people in these categories. Michael, there's a lot more people than 9 that you know. So if you look at these categories, was it 9? Whatever it was under 10. You can write down more people that you know. This is a memory jogger for you. When I first started my real estate business in Santa Cruz, I had just moved there. And so I had an opportunity to get to know as many people as possible. And there's a lot of people that you know throughout your day that, or your life or your week that you come in contact with. And do they know you're a realtor? So spend a couple minutes writing some people down. Here's a challenge for you as you go home. See if you can get that list to 100. All of you, writing stuff down, spend the weekend, adding 10 people at a time in each category. There's 14 categories here. So if you added 10 to each category, you'd have 140 people. Does anybody have any ahas or questions about this part? I know, Michael, you just recently moved here. So when you say that there's only like less than 10 people in your phone, are you thinking more about people that you know here?
No, I don't keep my contacts.
Where do you keep them?
Now.
Okay, so you have them. They're just not necessarily in your
I have it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So,
Steal my phone, they don't keep my people.
okay. If you need to call somebody, their phone number is just
People who I need to know.
are in there.
I
Okay.
know who they are.
Is my number in there?
Your number is in my phone, but it's not in my contact.
Fair enough. I know you call me, so.
Yeah, not to sound too clinical, but for me, is everybody my philosophy has always been everybody knows people, but the more important thing is who knows you.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you, of those people, because you get a lot of people who say, well, I've got a really large database. It's like, yeah, but
How well do you know them?
how well do you know them? And my question is always, because yes, quantity has a quality all of its own,
Mhm.
but really of those people, how many of them are really in any way motivated or interested in helping you
Right.
with your business? I know, and I know that's a little bit more of a, because, you know, it's kind of a opportunistic way to look at it. But at the same time, when you're figuring out, I don't know if you know who Nito Combine used to say, he used to keep a list of 100 names on his wall in his office. And the only one, and he would, the top 10 were the ones he focused on.
Yeah.
The rest of them, they had to get up to 10
Okay.
in order for them to suddenly beat people he was, and it wasn't that he ignored, basically,
Yeah.
the difference was the top 10 got Godiva chocolates.
Yeah.
The bottom one's got Hershey's.
And that's where you sort and qualify your database, which we're not going to get into today. And I think Melinda's talking a little bit more about the sorting and qualifying. I know, and there's actually a class I've taught on that's on YouTube. If you guys in our YouTube channel already, I taught it earlier this year that talks about sorting and qualifying and really helps you with that. The way I sorted and qualified my database in my career was I used the target model or bullseye model of the bullseye is the center of your database, the top 10, like you were talking about, most important people. I called them the A pluses.
Mhm.
And then the next circle were the A's, and the next circle were the B's, the next circle were the C's. And the people who got the most attention from me and the nicest gifts and all that were my A pluses in the center of that
Mhm.
bullseye.
Yeah.
And if I had approximately 600 people that I stayed in touch with in my database, and they were all categorized A plus, A, B, C. And depending on where they were at was how often I stayed in touch and how much of my attention they got from me, based on also how they were supporting my business. A pluses were my cheerleaders.
Yeah.
They're the ones that were referring me business, that were using me over and over again, that were out there in the community saying, oh, you need a real estate agent, you need to work with Laura. They were cheering my business on. So you're definitely not going to spend the same amount of time, money, or effort on everyone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And with it being a living, breathing thing, there's also the D category of the people that you would delete out of your database and not work with, either because they're already working with another realtor. So why would you spend your time, money, and energy on someone who's already told you they're going to work with someone else? Or because they're a jerk and you don't want to work with them. Guess what? You're a small business owner. You get to choose who you work with, and you don't have to work with everyone.
I always called that my ending list, never again.
Oh, NA never again list. Okay. Okay, I want to take you guys through an exercise here that's sort of a brain memory jogger. I want you to just kind of close your eyes, whatever, but think about what you did yesterday. Okay. Just take a couple minutes to think about what you did yesterday, from the time you got up in the morning to the time you went to bed. What did you do? Who did you see? Let's say it starts at 5 a.m. What was the first part of your day? Was there anybody else involved in it? And then as you get from 5 to 8 a.m., what did you do? Did you go get coffee from a coffee place? Did you was there someone who waited on you? Were there any other people that were involved in your morning at 8 o'clock or earlier? And then from 8 to 12, what did you do yesterday? Who was there? Who was involved? 12 to 5, what were you doing? Were you running errands? Were you emailing people? Were there family members involved? Were there people you talked to on the phone? Were there people in the community that you came in contact with at the grocery store, gas station, restaurant? And then the same from 5 o'clock on. Did you have a workout in your day? Were you seeing people at the gym? Were there other people that you came in contact with? Did you go on a walk in your neighborhood and say hi to some neighbors? So different things like that from yesterday. Now I want you to think about those interactions, and could you have deepened the relationship with those people? If you took a walk in your neighborhood and you walked by, I have 2 dogs. So I took my dogs for a walk yesterday. And unfortunately, I have 2 dogs where I typically cross the street and go on the other side of the street when I walk by people with other dogs, because my dogs are crazy. And so the interactions aren't always good. But if you're walking and you walk by people, did you actually look them in the eye and say hello? When you were getting your coffee at Starbucks, did you look at the barista and say, thank you? How's your day going today? Could you have strengthened that relationship? Could you have added to that relationship? Could you have checked in with people? You know, the person at the grocery store in the checkout line. Even if you do the self-checkout, there's always somebody from the grocery store standing there that says, thank you, have a good day. Did you actually interact with that person? So here's the question to ask yourself throughout your day as you're coming in contact with other people. Are you just running errands? Are you just going through the motions of your day kind of robotically? Or are you meeting potential buyers and sellers? Is it somebody that you could actually have a conversation with? One of my favorite trainers in the past, his name is Joe Nigo, runs an amazing real estate office business in Chicago. And he said it was called the Mayor Campaign, and he was running for mayor. And no matter where he was at, whether he was standing at a red light, waiting for the light to change so he could cross the street in the crosswalk, if there were people standing next to him, he would say, hello, how are you? How's your day going? And he would introduce myself and he would say, my name is Joe Nigo. And instead of saying, I'm running for mayor and I would like your vote, because that's what he was saying, he would say, I'm your local real estate agent. And I was wondering if you ever were thinking about buying or selling your home, or you had a friend or a family member who was thinking about buying or selling a home. Do you have a realtor that you'd refer them to? And the answer would be, yes, I actually have someone that's I'm already working with. Great. I'm so glad that they're taking really good care of you. If that were to ever change, here's my card. I'd love to be that person for you. If they said, no, I don't, he'd say, well, I would love to be the person to do that. So that was his mayor campaign. I am running for mayor and I would love your vote. I would love to be the person who does that for you. And I would love to get some contact information from you so that I can send you some helpful information about what's going on in the market. By the way, are you thinking about buying or selling right now? And he would get into a conversation with people, and that's how he built his database, one person at a time, by running his own real estate mayor campaign. You can look him up. He's a very successful business and a great trainer. He's really fun. Did you guys see how that script rolled off my tongue? Just ask. Okay. When you thought about this exercise, I need a little bit of participation. When you think about building your sphere of influence day by day, running your own real estate mayor campaign, and you think about all the people you come in contact with, what does that make you think about? Melinda?
How to let people know that I meet, because I do actually run around a lot and meet a lot of people. How to let them know I can help them in real estate without necessarily being salesy.
Okay. That's so great. I want to give one other example around that, because I think that's where a limiting belief comes up, or one of Gary Keller's fears. I don't know what to say. That was one of his fears. He didn't know what to say. I had a real estate agent back in Santa Cruz that I was connected to. I use a lot of those examples because that's where I've spent the last 22 years of my career. And she walked her dogs in the same dog park every single day. And she was the realtor of choice in that dog park. Everybody used her to help buy or sell. Isn't that great? That was her passion. I know, Melinda, you have different passions. You have different networking groups you're a part of. And the way that she got to know them, have you guys talked about this yet? Let's take this. Let me get rid of all this real quick. Have you guys talked about this yet? Can you see it in Zoom world? FORD.
Yes.
What's FORD, Melinda?
Family, occupation, recreation, dreams.
Yay. Good job. Again, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So as you're getting to know people in any interaction, whether you're standing in line at Starbucks or at the grocery store or wherever else you're standing in line, waiting for gym equipment, whatever it is, and you're standing around other people, you just want to get to know them. typically, if you ask people how their day is, how things are going, you know, where do you work? Tell me about your career. What usually happens if they're engaging with you back?
They ask you.
They ask you, what do you do? Hey, Ed, how's your day going?
Good.
Great, great. How's your summer going? Everything been going good with your summer?
Yeah. Got a lot of travel and see my kids.
Oh, awesome. Where are you guys? So you got to travel. Did you take any great vacations this summer?
I didn't, but my wife and son did.
Where did they go?
I went to Spain.
Oh, great. What was it about Spain that was drawing them to Spain? Where did they go?
They went all over with my wife's mother.
Oh, that sounds amazing. What held you back from that trip?
I wasn't invited to go.
Okay. All right. Well, did you get to do anything else that was great this summer? You went to Utah, right?
Yeah. Yep. I done and picked my wife and son up when they returned from Spain and they will spend a couple weeks with my kids down there.
That's amazing. What was your favorite part about that?
Just being together with all of my kids except for one that's in Hawaii.
I know who that one is. And then how about work? What do you do for work, Ed? I'm just getting to know you. What do you do?
I am in real estate.
Oh, cool. When you say you're in real estate, what does that mean?
Well, I am starting a career and being able to help people with their real estate needs and so
Okay, so you actually work with buyers and sellers and investors to help them buy, sell, or invest in real estate. That's what you do?
no, it's more for people that are looking for homes.
Oh,
Homeowners,
people are looking to
sellers.
buy?
Yeah. Are you? Am I dialogue?
Yeah. Getting to know people, then they would then ask me questions too. What do you do? I just asked him what he does, and he might ask me what. Says our internet's unstable. Does everybody still hear us? Please don't go if you practice it with somebody. Okay. Okay. So there's an activity 5.1 about building your, you feel like you have 100, the goal would be to get to 100, then 150, then 200. And then you're going to start working on the systems of staying in touch with people. Like the part that Melinda said that she wants to work on. And we're going to talk to you about that during night as well. That's a bold law. Bold is a class that we offer at stands for Mega Agent Productivity Systems, and BOLD stands for Business Objective Life Design. So the business objective in real estate is to create a life by design versus a life by default. And BOLD is a class that we offer. We're actually going to have BOLD come here at the end of the year, starting in October. It's a 7-week course that runs over 9 weeks. It's 1 day a week over 9 weeks. So there's 2 weeks where you get a break, and you're with a BOLD coach from about 9 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's a combination of mindset and practice, where they're working with you to think the biggest life you can be, to get out of your own way, to get rid of your limiting beliefs. And they're also practicing with you on how to work with buyers, how to work with sellers, how to use dialogues to have a higher level of conversion and to build a business that fulfills your dreams. And there's a ton of BOLD laws, and one of those BOLD laws is change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. So when I took you through that exercise of thinking back on your day yesterday and who you interacted with or didn't interact with, did that give you any ahas or make you look at things differently?
It's a tough part. And now know that I forgot my cheesecake at St.
Oh, shoot. You forgot your cheesecake?
Because I was talking with the checkout guy and I got distracted. and I busted out all my groceries. I was trying to figure out what happened. I got home, I was like, I thought I bought. And then when I was thinking about that, I was like, I know what happened.
You were actually talking to someone. That's great. You probably didn't need the cheesecake.
No,
Well, good for you that you were having conversations and engaging with people. All right. Any ahas or questions so far? And we're going to wrap up to the next parts. So the next part, we talked about expanding. We're going to do expanding your sphere of influence. We'll spend a couple minutes on that. And then I want to get into the last parts of this. So, okay, this part's important, expanding your sphere of influence, because this part shows how much you care and can strengthen relationships at a deeper level. So when you think about having a database and you think about having contacts inside that database, I'm going to say that a complete contact has 5 things. And then we can build it from there. But for you to have complete contact information on someone, what would be the 5 things you need? I'll help you with the first one. You need their first and last name. So that's the first thing. What else do you need to have contact information on someone?
Phone number.
Phone number. What else?
Yeah, email.
Email. What else?
An address is nice.
A mailing address. And there's one more that I like to add. Usually you get told it's these 4, but I really believe there's a 5th one. Just the basic surface level of contact information. This one stumps people usually. What might be the 5th one?
birthday.
Birthday? That's deeper. Is that what you said? That's not it. Not in my definition. It's social media connections. Most of us are connected to people on social media. So when you're just building your database, okay, and just getting complete info so that you have a first and last name, and you have a phone number so you can call them, you have an email address so you can email them information, you have a mailing address so you can send them a personal handwritten note or a happy birthday card, which means you need their birthday. Typically, you want to also have some sort of social media connection with them. Are you friends on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is? So I like to add that one. Check and see if you guys are connected on Facebook. It's really helpful in your business because, hey, you guys, as part of our world right now, we stay in touch with people on social media. Okay. So that for me is just the basic level. And then we can dig deeper from there. And so that's where they're talking about expanding your sphere of influence. It's not really expanding it out, but in deeper. Dive deep into your relationship with people. So an example of that would be having, can you guys still see me on the screen? Yeah. Birthdays. Let's do a different color. Birthdays. Michael said birthdays. What else?
Family members.
Yeah. Family. What other events happen? Family members, do they have kids? You know the kids' names? You know their birthdays?
What do they do for recreation, for fun, sports?
Yeah, what do they do for
activities?
fun, recreation?
Occupation.
Yeah, what do they do for work? What's their job? Anniversary, I'll go ahead and put it up here. Anniversary is another one. What other, do they have a religious preference for holidays? Is there a certain different type of holiday that you would send people happy Hanukkah card to? So recreation, job, any other things that come to mind? Those are good. If you can dig deeper into getting to know people, hobbies. Let's put hobbies on there. That's another one. if people, someone likes to knit or, they have a certain kind of athletic activity with gym, it's fun to know those things too. So that you can connect with them and ask them how it's going.
Like if you have a client then that their hobbies, when you're showing them about a property, and say, and the quilting store is 7 miles from
Yeah,
this.
right. Or look at this room would be a great room for all your hobbies,
Yeah.
right? If people are training for a marathon or something, you can keep in contact with them in that way and ask them how it's going. Learn, show that you're caring about them. So there's different things you can do. And how do you find that information out? Through Ford, you ask about their family, about their occupation, about their recreation, about their dreams, and you're learning more information down so that you can stay in touch with them in a more personal, deeper way. Okay, casual connections is another way to expand, and that goes back to my dog park example. If you have certain networking events that you're a part of that you enjoy, it's a great way to get to know people who are like-minded, who are like you. I have said many times in my real estate career, I love working with you, or I love people like you, and I would love to work with people like you that I have stuff in connection with. So if you ever know of a person who's thinking about buying or selling or investing in real estate, I'd love to work with people like you, and I'd appreciate it if you keep me in mind.
I like the word that you said, deepen rather than expand.
Yeah,
Still, my
deepen.
mind, I expand, I keep on thinking you're just growing,
Right.
but it's really deepen.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I don't think I can change that word in these slides, but I think they're really talking about tell killer willing. They're really thinking about deep diving into it. That's what they mean. Okay, and joining groups. That's a great way to, if you're newer to the area, it's a great way to get to know people. Join some groups that's something that's near and dear to your heart and a way for you to connect with other people. I'm doing that right now. Joined a book club. I'm new to the area. I joined a book club. I'm taking an art class. And then remember at the bottom of that whole example that we had, we're talking about getting referrals too. And so they have a referral script here, and then I'm going to share mine with you. I actually said it once already and I can share it again. But this one basically says, I'm building my business on people I know and people they know. Do you know of anyone from family or friends? Sorry, this is in my way. Hold on a minute. Oh, family or friends or work or your neighborhood or a group you belong to who's thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate. I would love to be a resource for them. If you hear of someone with real estate needs, will you please keep me in mind? I'd love to work with people like you. I said that part already. And my go-to script that I used in my real estate career was, Michael, I have a question for you. It's the mayor campaign script. If you had a friend or a family member or a coworker who was thinking about buying or selling or investing in real estate, do you have a realtor that you'd refer them to?
I do not.
Well, great. I would love to be that person for you. And I'd love to stay in touch with you from time to time. I promise I'm not going to inundate your email or call you with unnecessary information, but I'd love to provide helpful information from time to time. Would it be okay if I stayed in touch with you? Awesome. What's the best email? If I send you a report on what's going on in your neighborhood in terms of real estate, what would be the best email that I could use to do that?
Since we're recording a second.
Okay, so michael@michael.com. And then, I'd love to send you some of my business cards. So what's the best address where I can mail those to you? I'm just capturing all his information. And maybe I don't have your phone number too. Would love to call you once in a while to check in. What's the best phone number? So, and then the way to do that one, you guys, is to say, I'd love to call you to check in from once in a while. What's the best phone number for me to call you? 541. You start it for them. They're more likely to finish it for you if you start it by doing the area code. Because what's going to happen? They're either going to give you the next 7 digits or they're going to go, no, I'm 503. Oh, okay, 503, ... Right? So that for me is, this is a really important rule. If I was at the end of my career and I was being asked to give a goodbye speech, this would be the goodbye speech part that I would promise I would tell everybody. So you're getting it ahead of time because I'm not done. It's the exponential factor. If I was asked what was the most important thing I learned in my real estate career, it would be the exponential factor. What do you think I mean by that? every single person knows 100 other people, minimum. So every time I'm talking to Michael, I'm asking him about the 100 people he knows. Because guess what? If I say to Michael, if you had a friend or a family member or coworker or a neighbor who was thinking about buying or selling or investing in real estate, do you have a realtor you'd refer them to? I didn't just ask Michael, do you have a realtor? I asked him if he has ones for his friends and his family members, because two things are going to happen in that moment. One, he's going to start thinking about all the people he knows, and he's going to say, no, I don't. And of course, if he says, yes, I do, then you say, great. I'm glad you have someone taking great care of you. If that were to ever change in the future, I'd love to be that person. And you move on. He's already told you he's not interested. So you move on and work with people who you want to spend your time, money, and energy on that are interested. So he's thinking about the 100 people he knows. And he's also going to say to you, well, actually, Laura, I'm thinking about buying or selling something. So he's going to bring it back to himself if he needs you right now. Exponential factor is the most important thing I learned in real estate. Every single person knows at least 100 other people. I promise. Even if you have to jog them a little bit, that's why you say your friends, your family members, your neighbors, your coworkers, you're jogging them. Okay. Lead gen best practices. All right. They're saying that your lead gen best practices are to track your lead sources, audit your lead sources, diversify your database, and be consistent. Why? Why do you need to track your lead sources?
Can't improve what you don't track.
You can't improve what you don't track. And if you're really good at getting leads from open houses, do more of that. If you're not so good at getting leads from door knocking, either improve that skill or focus on what you're really good at. Typically, most of your business is going to come from your sphere of influence in your database and a couple, 1 to 2 to possibly 3 other lead sources. So get really good at the ones that you will get out of bed and do. If you won't get out of bed in the morning and cold call, don't add it as a lead source. But if you're totally good at networking events and open houses, get really good deep dive into those skills so that you can make sure that you're tracking and auditing and getting better at your skills. So track your lead sources, audit your lead sources. That database is a living, breathing thing. You want to make sure you're checking to see if people have moved around, and you want to auditing the lead sources means you're getting better at your skills. Diversify your database. It's just going to help you have more business if you diversify your database, and being consistent is about doing that systematic professional follow-up, which you will learn in the lead follow-up part of this course. Time blocking your lead generation time. We talked about this a little bit at the very beginning about setting it up as something in your calendar that you will never miss, like those other activities. I talked about the database. I talked about the database and other things in my calendar, that the kids' activities that you'll never miss. So when you think about time blocking for lead generation, we recommend at Keller Williams that you do it at the time of day that you have the most energy, which typically tends to be in the morning. And people that you're reaching out to typically tend to be less distracted earlier in the morning. The farther we get into our days, the lower our energy goes and the more distractions there are. So you want to prepare your time. We recommend 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. Open houses count for that. Open houses count as lead generation time. Door knocking counts as lead generation time. Time block that time. Prepare yourself ahead of time. Get your mindset right. Have a script partner, a dialogue partner that you practice your dialogues with before you get in and start making phone calls, text messages, going door to door knock, doing your open houses, etc. Take action on your conversations. Make sure you're writing everything down. So that's the maintenance part. Every conversation that you have, make sure you're in your database taking some notes so that you can look back at those later and you haven't forgotten something. and then work on your follow-up plans, which you're going to get taught a lot about here. Does anybody have any questions or ahas about this part? One more thing that's really important on this is creating a bunker or protecting your time blocking so that you don't, remember, you want to keep it as sacred time that's more important than everything else in the calendar that you won't just not do. And so it's important to build a bunker, store provisions, sweep for mines, and enlist support. Do they have examples of that? Okay. So what does it mean to build a bunker? It's 5.13 in your student guide. So if you have a certain place that you do your lead generation, make sure you're not getting distracted. You know, that you have, if you're here in the office and you're lead generating, that you have a sign up, I'm lead generating right now, please do not disturb. It's a do not disturb type thing. Inside your bunker, you want to make sure you have water, snacks, whatever it is you need. Also, you want to make sure that you have your database there so that you can put your notes in. Sweeping for mines means looking around to make sure there's not something there that will distract you. Turn off Facebook, unless you're doing lead gen inside of Facebook. Turn off the distractions. That's sweeping for mines. Turn your phone off to silent while you're making calls so that other things aren't popping in. You know, all those notifications we get, turn the notifications off. And then ask for help. Ask the people around you, your family, your friends, your coworkers. Hey, I really need to devote 2 hours to my lead gen time. Will you please hold me accountable to that? Will you please not disturb me? Will you please let me, the more I do this 2 hours, the more I make our dreams come true. So will you please help me with that? That's what those 4 different things say. Is there anything else anybody would add to that? For this particular part of Ignite, for today's class, that was really about you as the lead generator, your sphere of influence, building a smart database or data bank. What were some ahas for you around that? Michael?
I have to go back to the first thing we talked about, the whole thing about fear and that most people are more afraid of success than they are of failure. That's what they.
Okay. Fear of failure and failure of success and procrastination. Any other ahas for today? This is such a basics class. It's really a fundamental foundational class. If we really get the basics in here for you, that you're really thinking about it that way and really setting up your database in that way, it will help you build an amazing business. And then from this basic part of the lead generation section of Ignite, we're going to build from there and add more layers to help you be successful. I want to remind all of you that you have in your Ignite classes 2 hours of instruction, like I just did, and then we have a recommended 2 hours of daily success afterwards. We want you making phone calls and having conversations. We want you adding contacts to your database. We want you sending handwritten notes out to people. We want you to do social media engagement. And then there's lots of enrichment examples that are inside of your Ignite materials that you can add. You can be working on your buyer presentation, your listing presentation. You can be working on practicing your dialogues with someone else. So lots of different things that you can be working on, practicing the contracts so you know how to fill them out correctly. So spend 2 hours in Ignite learning, and then spend 2 more hours working on your business with the different types of things that we're recommending. Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks everyone so much. Is there anything, other questions you have for me before we end today?
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome. Oh,
Good class.
thank you. Any questions? Anything you want to ask your team leader before we end?
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend. Okay, this is great. All right. And here.